What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the BFF show. My name is Brendan.
I'm Franco.
And welcome back. Still on AMP Premiere. It's been a while, and we're glad to be back. Franco, how are you doing? Let's do a check-in. You and I have talked and seen each other in between shows, but the audience doesn't know that, so we can pretend like we haven't seen each other.
Yeah, everything's going really well. I briefly visited Chicago once.
Yeah.
I heard you were there too. I heard that I might have lost trivia to you despite answering all the questions but one correctly. Yeah, I think Hannah was much more fond of you than me.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
But we had fun. Let's get rid of this charade, Franco. You and I saw each other live in person in Chicago. It was a great time. I went there to visit with my papa, and it was great to be able to see you and hang out with you because you took the train over from where you live. You were close by, and it was awesome. So we had a good time. We drank, we ate. That was it. We just chatted. It was great. I had a great time, and we did do a trivia game during a Chicago detour trip, and it was fun. And I beat you.
I think that's an exaggeration because we had 7 questions, 5 of which I answered correctly, 2 of which you answered correctly, despite copying off of me, for one, but you got the final Hugh Hefner question, which really speaks to your character, I think, in some ways, that you immediately recognized the Playboy Mansion when I did not.
Because I'm just a cool dude, that's what that means. Anyway, we got a lot of show to talk about, Franco. Let's start with something that is slightly near and dear to our hearts. It's the Baltimore Orioles. You spent some time living there. I've spent some time being a fan there. I honestly really love the Baltimore Orioles. I'm not sure why. It's one of those things as though I'm not really quite sure why I'm a Raiders fan. I am, and I feel the same way about the Baltimore Orioles. But the Baltimore Orioles are in the news, Franco, because they are 100% definitely, it's not even a possibility, it's definitely happening where they're going to trade Manny Machado, their best player, to some other team. And the top 2 teams that are in the mix are my new Los Angeles Dodgers, the Philadelphia Phillies, and it's going to be tough. It's weird for me, Franco, because Machado's the best thing on the Orioles, but they need to do something because they're terrible otherwise. So either option is going to draw a top prospect. The Dodgers, at last report, seem to be willing to part with top 3 prospects, according to reports that I've been reading, and it looks like Philadelphia's maybe only 1 or 2. So it's probably the Dodgers. I'll probably go and see him and quietly weep that the Orioles got a little bit worse, but maybe a better future ahead. So, Franco, what do you think of all this trade talk?
Wow. Your first segment is always a little bit of a run-on sentence.
I'm sorry.
I will say I think he's going to the Dodgers. I think that's crappy. I don't want him in the NL West. The reality is, though, the Dodgers have a better farm system and can give more away. I disagree with you. I don't think Manny Machado is the best thing happening on the Orioles. I think that's Adam Jones. But unfortunately, Adam Jones is getting up there in age, so Machado is the hottest deal, I think, or the best package they can give. I think we'll see him move soon to the Dodgers. And here's my bold prediction: it won't help the Dodgers. Just because that roster, the way it's built, Machado's not going to add a significant hitting power. And then his defensive qualities are good, but they're not an upgrade over what they have now. So, fool's gold. He's a great player. I don't think he resigns with the Dodgers, and that's really it. And LA's the worst. Boom.
Hey, that hurts my feelings a little bit because now I live here. But I will agree with you, though. I think that you will see an offensive spike, but it would be probably at the detriment to the rest of the team. I agree with you with that lineup. Also, the Dodgers need pitching. They need pitching more than anything else. They have a decent lineup already, so if they get Machado, it'll be exciting because you'll see a little bit more pop in the lineup, but the long term for the Dodgers in the playoffs is they need pitching. Everybody seems to be gassed. Kenley Jansen's not as strong, at least right now, as he or penetrable as he was last year. So if you're a Dodger fan, that's really what should be making you more nervous than anything else. Machado's nice, but if you don't get any other pitching out of this trade deadline, then I think that they are not going to go that far in the World Series. But Franco, it is All-Star Game night. Last I checked, the National League was up 2-1, but last night's Home Run Derby, Bryce Harper was the winner. Hometown boy, Nationals. Did you watch, Franco? And if you did you like it? And if you didn't, do you care?
D for all. I don't care about the All-Star game. I don't care about Bryce Harper. In fact, I can't stand Bryce Harper. He's my Rob Gronkowski for baseball. I think he's kind of a waste of talent. But no, ever since they removed any caveat or value to the All-Star game, nobody watches it. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have removed the World Series home field advantage. I'm just saying it matters a whole lot less now.
Yeah.
And a home run derby is hard to get into when it's been an off year for hitting. And again, Bryce Harper's the one that won. And the new format's a bit weird. It doesn't really benefit the traditional long ball hitters with a time limit instead of a pitch count. So all in all, waste of network television slots. Bring back Firefly.
Yeah, I agree. I love Firefly, so I agree with you on that one. There's also controversy. Cubs Twitter is on fire because they feel like Bryce Harper cheated. I guess technically you have to wait for the ball to be declared an out before you can get pitched another ball. That did not happen with Bryce Harper, so there's a lot of, let's do this for Kyle Schwarber, who's in the home run derby, that he should be the crown. I think it's just kind of funny. You're right, it's an all-star game. Who cares? It's the best WWE-esque ending they could have had to this thing, with the Nationals player winning the home run derby at Nationals Stadium. I don't care about the home run derby or the All-Star game, quite frankly. I think it's just kind of funny that we try to pretend. And you're right, without the stipulations attached, it's just kind of whatever. So, but the one thing that has come up during this break is a further discussion about the DH rule, designated hitter. National League currently doesn't have it. You, Franco, might have been reading some stuff that they're thinking about it. What's the status of this, if anything, or is it just hearsay at this moment?
Yeah, so executives right now are saying that the vote's going to go through to move to abolish I wish, if we were so lucky, to make the DH rule universal across both leagues. So I'm going to go ahead and step back and let you speak to your truth. What is your truth? What do you think about the idea of having a DH in both leagues?
I'm torn. I like the DH because I think it just makes more sense. I never like when the pitcher is up because it just feels like it's an automatic out. But what I don't like is that AL games seem to take forever because you don't have the double switches. You don't have the pitcher that usually is a quick out. So from a time perspective, I'll be a little bummed out because this just means, having sat through so many AL East games, Yankee Red Sox in particular, that go 4.5, 5 hours, it's all about the pitching changes and just the hitters, and you don't really get a game in quick enough for my taste. So I think it makes sense but I think it makes sense because how many times have we seen, Franco, with the pitchers that try to hit in the American League that are on a National League team end up getting injured, and it just is a nightmare. So I think they've got to make it uniform across the board.
I think you're full of poppycock.
Hey, the Yankees, Ching-Meng Wang was never the same after that.
Oh, good. So let's reference the one guy that tripped over a sidewalk once and say, no more sidewalks ever.
He ran the base wrong because he doesn't do it, and then he was their best pitcher, and then he was terrible when he came back.
I think that's more on the team for not preparing him for the slot. I think the DH rule being different between leagues is the one thing that makes baseball unique. I think it's rooted in tradition, and I think you're discounting the pitchers that have hit well, like Dontrelle Willis. And especially this year with our new phenom with the Angels. Like, I don't see...
Who's injured?
I don't see that. What was that?
He was injured, and then he came back.
He wasn't injured by batting. He was injured by pitching.
So, exactly my point. Do one thing.
Okay. Well, Snowflake, we don't agree. And this is the reason why neither of us give a crap about baseball anymore. Because they keep overregulating it. They keep changing the game. The whole draw of baseball was that it was classic. We had this American pastime. And the rule book was like you couldn't challenge it because it's been around since Ruth was around. The Mantle home run record, all this other stuff. And when the rules were pushed by steroids, we had to bounce back. And it was very much in the theme of American justice. Like it's baseball in the American way. It's not anything else. And the minute we start over-regulating it, we make it the NFL or NBA, baseball just lost its only charm. Because we both know it's not that interesting. Games are not, they're fun in person, but it's hard to watch on television. And so when we take away the charm of it, it's useless. And getting rid of the DH rule is taking away one of the last vestiges that make it a unique league. And then we'll have the pitch count thing pick up. And then games will be limited by hour time. I don't know. I just think if they continue to do what they're going to do, they're going to over-regulate, and baseball is going to fall by the wayside, even more so than it is now.
Well, that might be, yeah, you're right. I think it is sort of the one thing that made it interesting, but I don't know. I still feel like have some uniformity and maybe try to work on those counts and get people going a little bit faster, but that you're right. It does kill what the game is. And I don't know if this is one of those which came first, chicken or the egg moments, or is it just that baseball, just you can't adapt it to what is happening now in society and culture and our shortened attention span, and it just is what it is? Because I think you and I, like you said, we'll still go to a game in person, but it's really hard to want to say, all right, guess what, significant others, we're going to spend 3.5, 4 hours just watching baseball. It's a really hard sell, because if you really have to be a diehard fan to sit and watch 6 to 7 games a week sometimes in baseball. That's a lot, and I don't know what the answer is, but at least they're trying. That's my takeaway. At least they're trying some uniformity here. Maybe that helps, maybe makes it interesting, but we'll have to stay on that and keep up with that. But moving past baseball, let's do a little bit of NBA talk. Kawhi Leonard, San Antonio Spurs. What? Am I missing something?
My dad says that we don't disagree enough when we're on TV, so we're gonna disagree right now. Here's the other part about the baseball thing, and this is more than we've talked about baseball in literally 2 years, but that's okay.
That's fine.
To remove the challenge of batting around the pitcher is to take away the one real job managers have. I've always been of the opinion that NL managers are much more talented and have a bigger challenge in the game, and that makes them more important. Joe Torre, whatever, is Joe Torre. Sacrilege, but he was on a team where they had major DHs, didn't have to do a lot of switching, at best had to manage pitching, and he had a great pitching coach, who we all saw got thrown to the ground one time when he was fighting the Red Sox, but still.
Yes.
I think if we make all DHs across the board, then we better start cutting salaries, and the manager is basically a glorified coat rack for a jersey. That's all I'm going to say.
That's bold. And listen, despite what your dad says, sometimes we agree. I don't want to just fight you, Franco, just to fight you. Sometimes I agree with you, okay? I'm sorry, I won't pick a fight. Gosh, now I feel like self-conscious.
Back to Kawhi Leonard. Speaking of
disagreements, if you're okay with that.
I'm okay now.
He's going to be attending USA Basketball Training Camp, Franco, with the Greg Popovich as the head coach, which might be awkward considering he's in trade talks. But based on your analysis, Franco, do you think he's going to basketball camp at USA Basketball Camp, 1, and 2, where does he land? Because trade talks are supposedly happening all the time, but we haven't seen any movement yet. So does he stay and remain a Spur?
1, he's going to basketball camp. 2, it's going to be awkward. Like that one time you saw your 5th grade girlfriend in the 7th grade dance, and she was all over Billy.
True story.
But, yeah, I don't know where he ends up. I'm really rooting for Portland to be a dark horse here and pull him away from the two major contenders. Almost kind of because I feel like Leonard doesn't want to play with another superstar. We've learned that he's sensitive, he has feelings, he couldn't even handle Tony Parker. Imagine LeBron yelling at Leonard. Or Joel Embiid. He doesn't want any part of that. So I think we see him go to a dark horse or stay with the Spurs. But what do you think?
I think that he's not going to go to the Celtics or the 76ers because they're apparently not willing to give up any of their big-name players. So I don't think that's happening because the Spurs have also been asking for everything in the kitchen sink. But I think that I like the idea, honestly, that he might be going to the dark horse candidate. I think the Lakers are going to get him eventually, but they're going to have to wait till 2019 when he's a free agent. So I don't think he's going to the Lakers, because if you're LeBron James, I don't think you want to look around and see that everybody's gone that was potentially really good long term for one additional person, because that's not going to get it done. So I don't know. I honestly, I think he stays a Spur, and that might be bold, but I'm going to say he stays a Spur, because I think that maybe this summer he realizes that there really isn't any true landing pad, tries to make the most of it, and maybe this USA basketball camp is that first step to reconciling the relationship between Popovich and Kawhi, and maybe that's where we go with this, because it seems like there's just not anything that's going to necessarily satisfy the San Antonio Spurs to give up Kawhi Leonard.
And I don't think there should be. By all rights, he's their best player. It's not their fault that he's being who he is. We'll just leave it at that. And I think Popovich can work miracles. We talked about Aldridge being a not a great team player and all this other stuff before he eventually joined the Spurs, and look how much he's turned around. It's kind of the reverse of Leonard. I do think if he does get the Spurs, we'll see him play 36 games total, if we're lucky.
Yeah.
He'll sprain his maybe pinky toe riding a scooter through a fiery hoop or something. But, yeah, honestly, I just want it to be over because I just don't care anymore. Thanks, Kawhi.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and you know what? Things could change dramatically. I mean, look what happened with Gordon Hayward game 1, night 1. And maybe if there is some, not that you want to see it, but if there's something that changes where players are no longer available for whatever reason, then maybe that sweetens the deal from the 76ers or the Celtics, and they're more willing to trade more. Because the deadline, they don't need to necessarily do the deal now. They could wait it out too. So there's still some possibility, but I think beginning of the season, he's going to be a Spur. Let's move on to NFL news. Le'Veon Bell, Pittsburgh Steelers running back. Was he franchise tagged today, Franco?
So the franchise tag is still pending. They haven't.
Still pending.
Like, he hasn't accepted it. It's not official, but the general consensus is that he's going to take the franchise tag.
And that'll be for the second year in a row, correct?
Yep. If up to $14.1 million per year this year.
Looking for a long-term deal. The Pittsburgh Steelers seem to not be blinking at the moment regarding that deal. Where do you see this ending, Franco? And do you think this is good for either side, the Steelers or Le'Veon?
No, and no. It's not good for anybody. I see it ending the way it's ended last year, where he comes back 3 days before the first game, and I mean, he'll play, he'll be okay. If he can avoid injury, let's not forget that he's not the most sturdy of human beings. He did make last year pretty well, but 2 years before that, he struggled with injuries. Additionally, don't forget that he's also one strike away with the substance abuse policy, which complicates it in a big way. So on one hand, I applaud Bell's willingness to put himself on the line and make more money for running backs and be basically the Kirk Cousins of running backs and earn more money for them. On the other hand, I think the Steelers would be insane to spend that much money on him.
Yeah.
With the fact, 1, he's oft injured, 2, he already has 2 drug offenses and has been proven to be a bonehead sometimes, and 3, James Conner has looked fantastic in spring training, and they could very easily take James Conner and pair him with an Adrian Peterson or DeMarco Murray, who we know is retired, but not really. He's not Tony Romo retired, but, you know, he's in that realm. He's a Jay Cutler retired. He's just waiting for the right offer. So I think we'll maintain the status quo. If I were the Steelers, I would cut Bell. Or I would trade.
Wow, okay.
We've already proven the running backs have a short shelf life. He's already overcarried as compared to his age. You already have the heir apparent of James Conner. You still have Antonio Brown, and Juju Smith-Schuster is proving to be a very great offensive weapon. Why pay $14 million when you can cut him and increase your defensive prowess under the cap? So as much as it pains me, because I love Bell, I own him in Dynasty, I think the smart move is to cut him. It won't happen, but they should. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this smart move is to keep him because of the asset that he is, and then just see where it goes. And I don't know if there's some rule, Franco, correct me if I'm wrong, about how many times you can franchise tag a player. I think it's unlimited, and you can just keep doing it year to year. Or is that wrong?
No, you're right. You can do it year to year, but it gets exponentially more expensive. So if they tag him again next year, he'll be at $23.1 million, which means you might as well just sign him to the $16 million he's asking for.
Right, which I think that's sort of where I think that there is a individual player component to this that bothers me about these guys need to get paid. And you're right, they do have a short span for their career, and it just seems unfair that these owners that have the money are have that as a tool, in this case using it in a way that one specific player just has not been able to get that long-term deal. And then this opens up the conversation about guaranteed money, which has been a long-term issue for the NFL Players Union and NFL in general. And go back to the Marco Murray, yeah, he retired, but think about this. The thing that is crazy, Franco, is that this guy 3 years ago was the AP Offensive Player of the Year and looked like a monster and potential breakout star. And now with the Titans, hasn't done much, and now he's retired. It's crazy to think that at 29, 28, these guys are completely done. And I know that that's sports in general, but still with the running backs, it feels like you can have 1 year where this guy's on top, and then the next year you forget which team they're on because all of a sudden they're either injured or they're not playing as well. And then they're out of the league in maybe 4 or 5 years. And it's just crazy. So I think that there's something needs to be done where you get these star players their money and lock them in, and that there's not this cat and mouse game of we'll franchise tag you now, we can keep doing this, and then we'll just eventually cut you. Maybe I'm too nice and not cutthroat enough for the business of the NFL. I acknowledge that, but that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, so you just went into two very different topics. So my comment was more, in this particular scenario, if I was the Steelers, I would cut them. That's not to say that the NFL system of contracts isn't necessarily inherently fair, because it's not. We've already proven that. They're the players that face the most risk in professional sports outside of hockey, yet they have the least guaranteed contracts. So the right thing is definitely to do guaranteed contracts. Bell, on his own hand, if he was a better player, or I'm not going to say a better person because he's probably a great person, but if he had a better record of behavior, he might have been the person that broke the mold. Unfortunately, his risks are what's keeping him back. And until we have... See, the problem is there's not a great running back out there right now. Until Kareem Hunt comes around with no issues and is out for the contract, I don't think we'll see a change until then. Because we already had one big contract event to running back, and it was Adrian Peterson. And one arrest in Houston later, one ACL tear, and he was never the same. So that was money just wasted by the Vikings. So I think that threw off the market. And I think having Bell and Elliott, who both have character concerns, be the next warriors for this project will definitely hold us too. So I think we're still 3 or 4 years out before seeing a reset of the running back market.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, obviously, throughout the season. We always do here on the show. And I want to wrap up a little bit with a movie suggestion for you, Franco. I saw Sorry to Bother You with a great cast. Keith Stanfield, I believe, if I'm saying that correctly, and Armie Hammer are the primary folks in it. Stephen Young is in it as well from The Walking Dead.
Yep.
And just a really interesting film, and I know you haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but the basic premise is pretty wild. It's about a telemarketer, and Keith plays a telemarketer who starts, and Danny Glover's in it, who makes a really... has a small role but impactful. He eventually tells Keith that he needs to use his white voice in order to be a better telemarketer and then become a power seller. So it's about it's a conversation about race, identity, selling out, giving up, what's the difference. And the one thing I will say, Franco, is that if you see it, the last third of the film gets really weird. I can't say anything because it'll spoil it for you, but I think that it's one of those films where my wife and I, Kelly, went, and we normally talk a lot about a film when we leave, and we didn't speak about this film for like 5 to 10 minutes before Kelly turned to me and said, I think I like this film, and we kind of had to process it. It took a few days, but I recommend it just to see it, to have the conversation, and I think if you do see it, we could talk more about it on the show, because it's one of those things you need to talk and process with people to sort of really understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sold. You just power sold me into seeing the movie.
Yeah. But other than that, you and I both need to get it together with, we need to get together with movies because I feel like you and I haven't seen a lot of movies together enough.
Yeah, I mean, it is the fodder for normally our closing segment, so audience will do better. We will see more movies to give you better insight. Brendan did just give you a great recommendation, so take that to the bank. And I think, on the whole, geopolitically, it's fascinating because our art as a society is rebelling against what we're seeing politically.
Yep.
But unfortunately, not in a way that's changing anything politically. In fact, it's almost motivating certain political individuals who we don't give a name to strike out even worse. So it's like we're in this weird quasi-reverse 1960s. And I don't know what to say about that.
It's a bummer. You make a great point. We're at the end of the show, so we can't go too deep into that.
Thought.
Food for thought. And also, it would be remiss if I didn't mention Tessa Thompson was also wonderful in Sorry to Bother You. She's fantastic. If you liked her in Westworld, you're going to love her in this one. So, Franco, what did you learn today?
I learned that we don't argue enough, but when we do, there's fireworks. What did you learn today?
I learned that sometimes I don't want to argue about stuff, man. We can just be chill about it.
Well,
just deal with it.
I don't want to go to bed angry, so this is where we're at.
For the BFF show, my name is Brendan.
I'm Franco.
Have a good week. Bye.
Peace.